Hello everybody, welcome back to Fanblade. I've been Christmas shopping. I bought myself one of these. This is an Aria Pro 2. This is the Detroit model. I always liked that body shape. There's I think it's the Hot Rod series of bases. A very attractive kind of a shape. There's the 618, which I think is the sort of the lower end one. Then there's the bourbon barrel, and this is the Detroit model, which is sort of slightly more upmarket, which isn't saying much because these are built to a budget. They're built very well to that budget, but to a budget nonetheless. Let's take a closer look. It's the Aria Pro 2 Detroit model. As I said, there's the 4x1 headstock with a string tree. Supposedly this is a roasted maple neck. I don't believe them for a second. I think they've just used a slightly darker tint in the varnish that they've put on there. Proper roasted maple is an awful lot darker than this. But I still quite like it. It's got an attractively kind of like a vintage kind of faded yellow kind of a vibe going on, which I'm into. I like it. We've got 24 medium to jumbo frets on supposedly a rosewood board. I don't believe this is rosewood. It doesn't really look like rosewood to me. It's dried out a lot more than rosewood ever should. I'm not entirely certain what it is. This base is a 2020 model. It's one of the very first ones of this design that they ever released. In fact, I believe this one was built ever so slightly just pre-pandemic. So it's been around a while. 3-4 years. Rosewood shouldn't dry out like that. It really shouldn't, unless it's been kept in an airing cupboard, which it may well have been, I don't know. And now we come to the business end. It is an ash body. They've not filled the pores, so they've saved a bit of money there, and they've just slapped some paint on it. You can see the wood grain through there. I quite like that. As an aesthetic choice, I think it's the best of both worlds. I don't generally like a painted body because you can't tell what sort of dodgy piece of wood they've used underneath it. I do like a painted body because I like the way it looks, and also I get to see that they've used a decent piece of wood, and it's nice and light as well. They've done the body properly. I like that. The bridge is a steel plate. It's got some brass saddles on there, which is a little bit interesting to me actually, because brass as a metal is softer than steel. So, wouldn't it be better to have steel saddles on here? Well, yes, it would be. The steel saddles, I see, they've reserved for the cheaper base, the RB618 model, that's in the same range, but it's got the steel saddles. And I think the reason why they've done that is because that bridge on the cheaper base is on a basswood body. Much softer, so they have to put a better bridge on it, otherwise the whole thing will be awful. And I haven't tried one of those bases, but I really want to, just to see what sort of difference it makes. Actually, I think what I really want to do is just put some steel saddles on this one, because that would be the best of both worlds. I've probably got some sitting around. I'll have a look later. Now the pickups. I don't like this mismatched split coil. I hate that, when you have the 3 and the 2. Not just for aesthetic reasons, because it looks lopsided, but also electrically you've got a much larger coil there than you do there. It's not going to be interacting with the strings in the same way. It's not going to get a consistent sound across all 5 strings. It's not going to be humbucking evenly. I hate this. The bridge pickup is it's okay, it's probably alright. I can't actually tell at the moment because the strings that are on here are so bad. This is a second-hand instrument, and the previous owner has done quite a lot of playing on here. I can tell because this is a matte finish, except where they've had their arm going across that bit of the body just on that edge. That's worn smooth. It's got a bit of gloss going on. This bass has seen some playing, which, it's a good sign. I don't know if I can judge this pickup yet because the strings are so bad. When you buy a budget instrument, doesn't matter if it's brand new straight from the factory or whether or not it's been played to death by a previous owner, when you buy a budget instrument, change the strings, because they are not cutting costs in the factory by putting expensive strings on. Never judge a cheap bass by the strings that it comes on with the factory. You gotta put some good ones on, and that's when you can find out just how bad a pickup like that can sound. Just going back to the neck for a second, and again, this is proving a little bit difficult to get on film just because of all this flame figure that's in here, which, by the way, I generally like a flame neck, but I like it when it's consistent all the way up the neck. That's not consistent. Also, it's a little bit harder to see, but if you'll notice, we've got a grain pattern that's going in rings around here like that. I'll try and get it into an angle where you can actually see all of that. Now, what that means is that the grain of the wood, rather than being a perfectly flat, straight piece, is actually scooped in at that point. You can see how the grain just dishes in right there. That's extremely not good. And with that bit of flame just sitting there, we're going to have a hard bit followed by a bit that's going to shift right on that point. And one day, this neck is going to just decide to move. It's going to twist, and that's going to be game over. There will be no saving this neck. But it hasn't done that yet. It is still playing, so while it's playing, I'm going to play it. Time for a teardown and a setup. It probably goes without saying as well that this is, of course, a much newer, modern Aria Pro 2. This is nothing like the original 70s Japanese Aria Pros. They are absolutely exquisite. They are brilliant. If you can find one of those for a decent price, grab that. With these, I mean, like I say, the brand has just become a brand. They're outsourcing their manufacturing to the same places that Epiphone, Squire, Ibanez, everyone is doing this these days. So just because it's branded Aria Pro 2, you know, it was designed in the same office building that they used to use, but that's about all you can say about its history, really. 6-bolt neck, that's kind of nice. I'm guessing that'll be nice and secure. I don't know if there's a shim in there or not. It played okay. The action was not too bad, so I suspect that either it's already got one or it probably doesn't need one. Yeah, that's threaded into the body, which is kind of a no-no. And the real moment of truth, how tight's the neck pocket? How tight's the neck pocket? Is it going to collapse as soon as the screw comes free? Yep. Okay. Now that's interesting. I don't see this very often. When they've CNC'd this neck pocket out, they've actually done it with the pick guard in place. This is all perfectly flush cut all the way around. They've just had one pass with one cutter, just cut that profile there. It's a brilliant way to do 2 operations at one time, save money. It's a nice way to get a good fit and finish. I applaud this. They've found a way to cut costs and make a better instrument. It's just a shame they made it ever so slightly too big, or this would be an absolute win for them. You can see its tan lines. This bass is only sort of 3 or 4 years old. As I said, this is not an ancient instrument, but it's taking on a kind of a vintage hue just by the very nature of it. Like, I dig it. This is not a bad thing, but it's just really, really funny to me to see that be so vivid on an instrument that's only a couple of years old. Crazy. The pickups are Alnico, it looks like. No ceramic magnets there. Alnico, I have found, generally are a bit underpowered for my liking. There's not a whole lot of magnetism there. Also, they feel really, really light. I'm guessing there's not a whole lot of copper in there either. Yeah, let's pop the jazz pickup out, and hopefully that feels a bit more substantial. Because what I did notice, even on those cheap strings, was that this bass has a bridge pickup that is actually powerful enough to be useful. So I'm guessing there's a bit more going on under this one. Right, what they've done is they've used magnets that are longer than there and magnets that are ever so slightly shorter than that. So bigger magnet, more power coming from the jazz pickup, which is a good thing. Actually, that's exactly what you want. Also, what's the piddly little bit of foam they stick under there? I mean, again, that's cost saving for you. Also, look at all the amount of dirt that's on there. I need a cloth. That's all I've really got to say about these pickups. I'll be sticking some strings on and giving them a proper test before I decide what I'm actually going to do. And what have we got inside here? Ooh, it's a pretty tight fit. So we've got a blend knob. Nice. Looks like a blend, master volume and a tone, and an output. Super simple. Wiring looks clean. Solder looks good. Yeah. Okay. Right, that can stay the way it is. Note, there's no shielding. If that's a problem, that might be a problem. I may have to put some shielding in there. Oh, there's shielding on that. Okay. But we'll see how we get on. I don't want to do too many mods to this one because I kind of like it the way it is, but I do want to drill out these holes in the body so that the screws will slip through and then we'll be able to suck the neck on a lot more rigidly than they can at the moment, because at the moment, if you've got threads biting into the body and biting into the neck, you can tighten that screw up as tight as it will go. If the body is locked on the threads and locked on the neck, then they will never move any closer together. So this needs to be able to slip through the body and then lock into the neck, and that means that hole needs to be 5mm. That already looks better after a little bit of a clean. I still don't think it's rosewood unless it's some variety of rosewood that I'm unfamiliar with. I should say as well, again, this is the 2020 model. The current models are being advertised as rosewood. I don't know if that was always the case when they first came out. They might have been still dealing with the idea of the CITES ban on exporting rosewood, so a lot of companies were experimenting with Powfero and Jatoba and a bunch of other things. I guess I could look up what this is. I don't really care enough. I'm just going to put some oil on it and leave it at that, because aside from a tiny little bit of fretwear, it's actually not too bad. And aside from the problem with the neck grain, it's actually a very nice neck. So, yeah, just going to oil it and we'll leave it at that. Let's compare ball ends. This here is the brand new Teardown string that I am about to put on this bass. These are both E strings, by the way. See the size of that ball end. See its profile. Have a look at that. Now, you see the puny little thing next to it? See how the edges of it are even rounded over? If you ever see these strings on any bass, cut them. Get rid of them. Even if it's not your bass, even if you're just walking through a music shop and you see these on any instrument, just slice them off. It's a music shop. They'll have new strings to put on there. You want to rid the world of these abominations here. Do whatever you have to. You have my permission. Okay, the strings are on, the strings are stretched in, they are up to pitch. I've taken it next door and had a little bit of a play on it, and yeah, I may have to walk back some of the nasty things that I said about this pickup. I still hate it aesthetically. I still think it looks ugly as anything, but I've got to admit it does sound pretty good, actually. You'll hear it in due course, don't worry. Had to play with the height of it a little bit. It's significantly better than I thought it was going to sound. I am surprised. I'm very surprised. Apart from that, yes, I think I need a shim, just a very tiny one, just to knock the neck back just a fraction. The nut is quite high, I just need to file that back, and the intonation is a hot mess. So bit of refining, bit of proper adjusting of the setup, and this is actually going to be a pretty sweet bass. And just like that, a fully set up bass guitar. I did set the intonation, although the footage of that wound up all blurry because welcome to Fanblade. I didn't have to put a shim in the neck because just lowering the nut and the bridge, that was enough. The intonation and the setup, everything's just perfect on this now. It plays really, really nicely. In fact, I took it out for a gig last night. And that was real fun to play. It was just a really fun gig. Nice to play it on this instrument. I was a little bit disappointed with this pickup. It sounds good in this context, and I'll play it for you in a second, but El Nico pickups, I have noticed, especially the cheap ones, that they're slightly underwound and it's just not quite there. I was digging in and wanting to get more out of it, and it just didn't have it to give me, so the output's just a little bit lower, the magnet's not as strong. That said though, this thing in its own right does sound pretty good. I have to give it that. Here is the neck pickup. Everything's on full. Oh, people sometimes ask me about my signal chain. I am going bass straight into a Trace Elliott GP7 preamp. All the EQ is on 0. From there it goes straight into my computer, and there's just a tiny little bit of compression. Anyway, here we go. Everything is on full. We are on the neck pickup. Pretty good, just a hint of new string rattle there. Winding over to the bridge pickup. And, of course, the centre position. The selector knob has a centre detent in it, which is quite a nice touch. Very much that scooped jazz bass sound. And then my personal favourite, which is to roll the selector just about 20%, 15-20% towards the neck pickup, and you get this sound. maybe could raise the action just ever so slightly. There's just a tiny bit of rattle there. But yeah, anyway, there you go. It's all right. It's all right. Aside from the very, very dodgy piece of wood that they've built the neck from, and the fact that that's going to die a death one day. And the pickups are capable but underwhelming. They're doing their best, and at this price point you can't really ask very much more than that, can you? Am I recommending this bass? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I think the value for money that you get from these instruments is far better than some. I think you would do far worse than buy this and then slap a new pickup in it. I haven't decided if I'm going to upgrade this yet. I'm not too sure what I would put in there, whether I would make my own. I will debate it on the coming weeks. But yes, that's probably as good a place as any to leave it on a high note. So thank you all for watching. Oh, I have decided what I'm doing for my Christmas build this year. Yes, stay tuned for that. So yes, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and I will see you very soon. Thanks.